Okay, I'm in Milcreek. I have found 4 April 12th, 1951s, which are special. They're foreordained dates. David O. McKay was ordained the president of the church on April 12th, 1951. It has my mom's pattern. She's a September 12th, 1951. His sustaining was April 9th, 1951, which my dad's is October 9th, 1951. October 10th is also ordination day of John Taylor. This has 2004 when I got my patriarchal blessing. It does have a 2 too. That part could be coincidence, but look, every April 12th, 1951 that I have found is close to strong identifiers of me. My mom, September 12th, 1951, her middle name is Faye. Look at this. The next one. Faye. Spelt the same way as my mom's. And I'm not going to show everything or the video will be too long and I'll probably just confuse people. Look, as if that's not enough, he circles it, kitty corner, with another Faye. He circles it, literally. Then, right behind it, you have a November prophet, John Taylor, with a Wilford. This could be coincidence, but I don't think it is, and I'll show why in a second. Also, kitty corner from this Faye, you have my grandfather's month and year. He was born October 7th, 1914. I believe that strengthens the Faye. It strengthens the correct family that he's talking about, the correct bloodline, and I wasn't going to show that. But look at this. If you go through the November prophet and the Wilford through the April 12th, 1951, which is the strongest sign here because those are super hard to get, and you keep going, look at this. It then hits the kind of the corner of this one, which has another November prophet, November 22nd, and then 2 prophets, Lee and Kimball, March 20th. And then look at what it hits. I got my patriarchal blessing, which talks about the line of the prophets down to me on July 2nd, 2004. This is unbelievably hard to get, especially that close. And if that's not good enough, look, it also has a July 2nd. Again, I'm not going to show everything here. Though 2 down, there is a November 17th, which is a further identifier of me, the November 7th pattern. Look, for some reason, another November 22nd, November prophet. But look, I'll show you the ones that are certainly not coincidence. As I go down to November ordination date, Heber J. Grant ordained on a November 23rd, but watch. I'm just taking note of those, watch. As you go down in the same row, another July 2nd, and I don't believe this one is coincidence, even more stronger than the last 2 I mentioned. And here's why. Look, let me just look at this to make sure what I forgot. Okay, so you have that July 2nd with a November 6th, which is super close to mine, and future prophet Uchtdorf. July 2nd, the line of the prophets, but look at this. And that same row is my patriarchal blessing. Look, March 12th, 1995, the very day that Gordon B. Hinckley was ordained president of the church. This is mind staggering. You have to walk days and hours. Yeah, more than hours. I mean, sometimes you get lucky, sometimes weeks before you get the very day that a prophet was ordained. Why is that July 3rd, 2004 stone with its July 2nd, and then the other July 2nd right there in this row? And why is that July 3rd, 2004 aligned with the April 12th, 1951, which has the 2 Fays around them? And my mom's pattern has the 12th, 1951. I'm going to show one more. Oh, and look, as if that's not good enough, look. My parents sealed in the Los Angeles temple. My brother born in Los Angeles on a June 15th. There's a June 15th. He's pointing to the correct family. And then across, look at this. I wasn't going to show this. There's another Los Angeles temple right there. And then there's another June 15th right there. On November 7th, Apostle Scott's birth year, Joseph Smith's birthday, and then look at this. There's a November prophet's birthday, Joseph F. Smith, November 13th, right after November 7th, Apostle Scott is born, 6 days after. Is the Lord stamping this November 7th apostle symbol with the president of the church's birth? This is highly fascinating. Now watch this. One of the only November 7th, I've searched this whole area, like way over there, like far. There is a couple November 7th, but this whole area, there's no November 7th. But watch what happens when I go to the closest November 7th to these. No, the second closest, sorry, I forgot. And actually in this row right there, let me just go back. This is worth it, actually. So there's the ordination date of Hinckley. There's this, he identifies the correct family. Look, the third, November 22nd, two of them are in this row, November prophet. And then look at this. Same row. I forgot if there's anything here, same row. But look at this. Sharon, Vermont. That signifies a prophetic birth. Joseph was born in Sharon, Vermont. This is super, I've never seen this before. Never. And one of the midwives at my birth was a Patton, spelt the same way, but Sharon has the name Aaron. Now, and this just happens to be kitty corner from one of the November 7th, and the name Ronald comes from Aaron. So, and that does form some stuff I'm not going to show. That's stronger than it appears, but I know that I'll just confuse people if I make it too long. So let me just show you this right here. See if I can find it here. Somebody's watching, so we're running my video. Somebody stopped. Like, okay, so let me just see if I can find this. Okay, here it is, right here. It was actually closer. I had to come back, and I shouldn't, it forms a line. I'm not going to get into that because this video is already way too long. No one's going to watch it if it's 10 minutes. So look at this. Here it is. Here is the November 7th. Why is there June 23rd, 1910? That is literally the very day Gordon B. Hinckley was born. Literally. And if you go kitty corner, you get an ordination symbol, November 23rd, Heber J. Grant, on a November 23rd. Only two ordination dates on 23, January 23 and November 23, and then there's two prophets that were born on the 23. Joseph Smith and Gordon B. Hinckley. Why? Is this a coincidence when I just showed you what it is? Now look, the very next one. Look at this. My mom was born September 12th, 1951. 1951. And look, that's got the 12/1995, which is an ordination symbol, just not the right month. That could be coincidence. Look, married 1973, just like my parents. So is that one. Again, those parts are less strong. I'm just pointing them out. There's no way this is coincidence. There's simply no way. And look, the very next one, as I come back, look, it's got my patriarchal blessing, July 2nd. I forgot about that. No, that's not, there's no way that this is coincidence. So anyways, this video is too long. If I start trying to show the lines that they form and everything, it just gets complicated.